Okay, so we're still on our 10th lesson on triangle inequalities. This time, let's try to complete these blanks for our given exercise. Applying the inequality actions. Complete each of the following statements. For letter A, if A is greater than B and B is greater than 8, so therefore, what could be our logical conclusion for this one? So if A is greater than B and B is greater than 8, therefore we can say that A should be greater than 8. Is that right? For this one, A should be greater than 8. For letter B, if X is greater than Y and Y is equal to 15, so therefore X must be greater than 15 for this one. For letter C, if C is less than 20 and D is less than 5, so therefore C plus D should be equal to what? So the possible values for C would be, let's say for example, 19, and the possible values for D should be 4. So let's say for example, for whole numbers, for our positive whole numbers, that's the greatest value. So 19 plus 4, so that's 23. That's their maximum value. So therefore, 25 is greater than 23, or C plus D is less than 25. Okay, for this problem. For letter D, if X is greater than Y and Y is greater than 6, then we can say that X is greater than Y, and we can also say that Y is greater than 6 for this one. So X is greater than Y and Y is greater than 6. Okay, for this one, if X is greater than Y, then 1/2 of X is blank of 1/2 of Y. Now for this one, we can try to substitute values. Let's say for example that this is like 6. Let's say for example 6, and let's say for example that this is 3. Okay, so if we have your 1/2 of 6 and then you have your 1/2 of 3, which of them would be bigger? Most likely it's going to be the value of X. So therefore for this one, 1/2 of X would be greater than 1/2 of Y. Okay, for letter F, we can, let's try to read. If E is less than 1/4 of F, then 4E is what of F? Okay, so again, let's try to substitute some values if we're a bit confused. So let's say for example that this is like 2, and let's say for example that this is 12. Okay, because 12 divided by 4 is 3 and 3 is greater than 2. Now if 4 times 2, if we have here the value of E is equal to 2, and we have here the value of X is equal to, the value of F is equal to 12. So what will be their relationship? We can say that 12 is greater than 8. Therefore, we can assume, or we can logically state that 4E is less than F, or F is greater than 4E. For letter G, we have if negative Y is greater than Z, then Y blank negative Z. So again, let's try to substitute some values. Let's say for example that this is 8 and this is negative 2. Okay. Now if the value of your Y is 2 and the value of your Z is 8, so which should be bigger? Okay, for this problem. So the bigger one would be 2, right? But there could also be another way to think about this. So let's say for example that this is positive 6 and let's say for example this is negative 6 and this is positive 1. So if we can say that negative 6 is less than 1, or 1 is greater than negative 6, then we can conclude that for this problem 6, okay, negative 1, so it's not greater than negative, so negative 1 is not greater than 6. So for this one, we already ran into a contradiction. We can say for letter G that y should be greater than negative c for this one. For letter H, okay, for letter H, negative 4x is greater than p. Therefore, we can say that x should be blank of negative 1/4 of p. Now, for this problem, we can try to solve it. Okay, let's try to solve it. So that's gonna give us, let's say for example, if we want to solve for x, we can divide both sides by negative 4, or we can multiply negative 1/4 for both sides. So that's negative 1/4. So that's gonna give us positive x should be less than negative 1/4 of p. Okay, so there you go. So for letter H, this is the answer. Okay, for letter I, if Paul and Jack have equal amounts of money, and Paul spends more than Jack, then Paul will have, of course, less than Jack. Since Paul is a great spender, so therefore Jack will have more money, logically speaking. Letter J, if Anne is now older than Helen, then 10 years ago, okay, let's try to read that again. If Anne is now older than Helen, then 10 years ago, Anne was blank than Helen. Okay, so if Anne is now older than Helen, so then 10 years ago, Anne was... So, of course, we know that age progresses. Okay, you can't turn back time. So that would mean if Anne is now older than Helen, then 10 years ago, Anne was older than Helen. Because you cannot turn back time. Helen could not be like younger, okay, than Anne was 10 years ago. Okay, so that's for that one. Okay, and that's how we could use the inequality actions for our problems involving inequalities, especially on finding the side measurements of triangle inequalities.